Well, you often see it on signs at ball games, on marquees at churches. John 3:16 is the most widely quoted verse in Scripture, or as our next guest calls it, the hope diamond of the Bible.
Max Lucado has been named America's Pastor by Christianity Today magazine and America's Best Preacher by Reader's Digest. He's the author of over 60 books, with over 50 million copies in print and published in over 28 languages worldwide. That's pretty good for someone who was rejected by 14 publishers. Max is a gifted storyteller and encourages others by using clear and memorable illustrations. His latest book, 3:16, The Numbers of Hope, examines the Bible's most well-known verse and how these 26 words might just be the Bible in a nutshell.
Please welcome back to the 700 Club author and pastor Max Lucado. Max, it's always wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
You have written over 60 books, so many books. What made you decide to write a book on one verse?
You know, every so often you come across an idea for a book and you say, maybe I was made to write this book.
Yeah.
And it could be this one, Terry.
Really?
It really is. I mean, I'm a missionary at heart. You know, we lived in Brazil for much of the 80s. That was my first assignment. And John 3:16 has always been that one verse that I thought summarizes, encapsulates, carries the heart of the gospel like no other verse.
You know, you say in the book, read this verse and what jumps out at you. And it is God's love, that God so loved the world. Why do we have such a hard time receiving that love, Max?
You're right. That phrase, for God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son. I think we could pause right there and evaluate and study just that one phrase
for a
book, you know. Here's our problem. I think we interpret God's love through human love. We confuse the two. We're so used to being loved more if we do better or loved less if we do worse. Mm-hmm. But God's love says, I'm going to love you no matter what. Yeah. His love does not depend upon human performance. And
that's really almost hard for us to receive, isn't it?
Well, it's a different system. It's a whole different approach. Mm-hmm. But you know, nothing ever separates us from the love of God. Nothing.
What is the difference between the way most of us live our lives and the way that God intended for us to live life?
That's a great question. I think God intends for us to live life in complete awe of Him, anticipating the wonders that await us after this world. This life is so brief. We are here to make a decision about where we spend eternity, either with God or apart from God. That is assignment number one. It's really just a warm-up for the world that is to come. I think He would want us to live every day with high hopes and wonderful expectation about heaven.
You know, we mentioned the first part of John 3:16, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. How should we look at that, embrace that, treat that in light of the sort of tolerance way of life that we've been led to believe is okay
Absolutely.
Today? How do we approach
Again,
that?
John 3:16 is such a great verse because it gives us a itemization of the key doctrines of the Christian faith. That phrase, whoever believes in Him, is the perfect balance. Whoever. That throws the gate of heaven open to whoever, but whoever believes in Him. Not whoever believes in them, or whoever believes in whatever they want to believe.
Right.
But the invitation is for whoever, but the belief is in Jesus Christ. Because He is the one and only Son. For God so loved the world, He gave His one and only Son. And that's a great word in the Greek language, monogenes. It's literally, He comes from the same genetic background, unique genetic background as God. Everything you can say about God, you can say about Jesus. So that's what elevates Jesus as the one and only Son. Believe in Him, and you shall not perish, but you'll have eternal life.
And it's what puts Him at the crossroad of decision, isn't it?
Certainly. It causes Him to either be the Lord or the lunatic of humanity. Yeah. And Jesus said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given unto me. So He's honest about His claim to be the King of the universe.
You also talk about what makes heaven heavenly. And I think, I was just talking with a friend the other day about the fact that we talk about heaven for most of our walk with the Lord, but nobody wants to go there. What is it that we don't know about heaven that we should.
Underneath our thought about heaven is this fear, won't I be bored there?
Yes.
And again, we're applying the physics of this life to the next life.
Yes.
A whole different setup is you won't be the same you.
Yeah.
The same, right now I get bored, I get restless, I get tired, I get worn out, I have health problems. None of that is going to be a part of heaven. And secondly, we won't have the same earth. The earth is going to be transformed into its Edenic state, just like it was in the Garden of Eden. But most of all, we will be in the presence of God. There will be no veil between us and Him, and we will enjoy Him forever.
And that's almost impossible to totally embrace this side of it, isn't it?
But the Apostle Paul said, set your mind on things above. And the phrase there is to focus on things above. And so here's the opportunity for us to really draw. I don't know any person whose life wouldn't be better if they focused more on heaven.
Boy, that's really the truth. I want to mention also that this year, Palm Sunday happens to fall on 3/16. And so churches are going to be doing sort of a united effort to...
We're urging churches. In fact, we're a part of an initiative, Terry, to acquaint 316 million people with John 3:16. And part of that is to urge churches to capitalize on the fact that Palm Sunday falls on 3/16/08. So churches can we have information on our website where pastors can kick off a sermon series based on John 3:16 on Easter Sunday, and they can set it up on 3/16/08.
It's amazing. Well, I want to say, whether you're a brand new believer and you want to know more about what it means to belong to Jesus, to live in Him and for Him, 3:16 is for you. And also, if you're a believer that's been with the Lord for a while and you want to refresh and renew your faith, this book is awesome. Max Lucado, 3:16. Thank you so much.
Great
God
to
bless
see you.
Great
Really
to see
is.
you again.
Thanks.